Hello, everybody. This is Piero Giorgio, author of Survive the Economic Collapse. Today, I have the immense pleasure to interview Mr. Wim Hof, better known or also known as the Iceman. Wim has performed incredible feats of resistance to cold, walking barefoot for kilometers, actually marathons, in the snow, climbing the Everest, being immersed into cold ice water for quite long times. And he has performed all this with the intent of better controlling the body's response to cold and with scientific monitoring so that this can be an interesting and ongoing experience on how the human body can improve its immune system. I was happy to interview Wim to try to understand how we can apply some of the techniques he's pioneering to better ourselves and attain a much better ability to cure ourselves, but also, in general terms, have better health and better immune system. So here we go with Wim. Thanks for taking the call. How long do you have?
Like an hour?
Or even less, don't worry.
All right.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much. I've been reading your books and watching your videos for quite some time, and
Sounds good. Sounds good.
they're very enriching, very interesting. And to give you a little bit of the context of my call and questions for the interview, I'm a writer. I write books about survival, how you survive in difficult economic times, how you survive in outside and things like that. And they're quite successful and so on. But my next one is going to be about health. How do we get the best health possible, of course, for a better life, and of course, for difficult times and things like that. And when I was reading your books and your work, and actually I was very interested and fascinated by your interview by Joe Rogan,
Yes.
which is a great guy, by the way. And
We just terminated a great interview podcast with London Real.
oh yes, I know them.
And it's a great interview. You should look into it.
I will.
And coming into your what you already say, I see a connection between the first and the second book.
Oh yes,
And that is about stress, how to deal with stress, because a famine, that means hunger, cold, heat, but also daily stress, grief, and difficult financial situations. It's all stress and impact on our body, which then produces an acidic state of our bodies, which finally will cause problems to deal with the situation, whatever that is. And that means that is disease or famine, hunger, heat, cold, stress, grief. It's all, you're then not able to deal with that, right? And health, of course, is a danger when your body is not right. The chemistry of the body is not right, caused by stress. And we do not know in this society how to deal with the stress hormone, which is adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine. So I found a way how to control the stress hormone release. Thus, we learned to control stress far, far better. And so your book about health, but also about survival and how to deal with financial stress, for example, it's a logical sequence, and health is a very big issue, of course. If you go by the angle of health, then it would be a great book, and the tools I can hand you over, they are very effective.
For
So,
sure.
yes, let's get into this.
Exactly, and of course, it's. I thought you're right. Health is a big topic, and I thought, by the way, that I would write a book in about. I would research and then write a book in about a year, and
Mm.
it's already 3 years I'm researching this because it's so big. Indeed, it touches stress, sleep, management of emotions, and when I was reading your performances about how you manage your mind and body about resistance to cold, I was fascinated not so much because you look like a superhero,
Yeah.
but because you have science that backs it up and that is looking at it, and you're followed right by scientists.
Yes, I'm ongoing in studies, and it's right now the third chapter. No, chapter 22 in the books
Hmm.
in the US, universitarian books for the new physicians and doctors. It's about the Iceman, and it's a full chapter on the endocrine systems and the immune systems.
Yes,
And so we have reached not only the scientific papers like Nature and PNAS, and ongoing with the studies right now with the universities over here. It's going worldwide, and it's in the books. It's in the university, a full chapter
excellent.
on the immune systems and the endocrine system. So it is in the establishment, and it makes people change toward in talking about thinking, change the way they look toward a possible approach to the disease from a different angle, a different control, possible control, which we could have if we just adopt a couple of techniques. And yeah, it's ongoing.
Yep,
And
and this is what makes the thing very interesting because there is I'm sure you understand, of course, what you do has a lot of entertaining value. But the real value is not, of course, entertainment. It's really how science, which is always has to be put into question all the time.
yes,
How can science and how your work and your experience on yourself, followed by people who try to understand the mechanics of as you said, the endocrine system and all the immune system
yes,
that we have in our bodies,
yes,
how can you boost it from
yes. How can
cold
you
and
boost
from your
it?
experience? That's
Yes,
what my main question, in fact.
yes. How can you boost it? And by the way, it's the autonomic nervous system which we influenced deeply. And the autonomic nervous system, this is the first scientific study, that showed that the autonomic nervous system can be influenced. And that means we are going to look completely different to the body. And we need to question, as it is science, we need to question our knowledge of the body and the physiology and the psyche, because there's still so much disease going on, so much powerlessness going on in the world. We got all the technology, but we cannot really tackle disease completely. So, what I say, how to boost and how to improve that, and how to change the scope of possibilities toward our approach toward disease, both mental and physical, is yeah, learning about what I found out in nature. I didn't find my knowledge because of books. I found it out in going into nature, and then found out that the physiology is able to do so much more. And therefore, in the research program with endotoxin, which is a bacteria injected, they
Hmm.
saw me uh, having control within 15 minutes. And how? By breathing and focus. Breathing and focus, those two together, they are being investigated right now um, in the university as a new study. They are looking into the effectivity. Where is this method most effective. They are analyzing it by blood results and 48 subjects who are being instructed by me just in a couple of days. It's even without me now. The method has proven itself to be very effective. So how to boost that question is answered by breathing, a little bit of cold, and focus. And those three together, they will show if it is implemented because of scientific proof as a method within the healthcare, then it will prove such a big step, such an involvement of the patient into its healing process,
Yes.
into its pain process. For example, here in Holland, we got 2.2 million people with chronic disease, and not chronic disease, chronic pain.
Yes.
And tomorrow I have a lecture to give to people who treat people with pain. And I tell them, listen, if you just use breathing and the participation of the patient, then the pain will become something else. Not just by pills and medicines to suppress it, but to activate their own nervous system by breathing and focus. As they are lying in bed, people lying in bed having pain, we showed people lying in bed by blood results that they produced more adrenaline lying in bed, doing these breathing exercises and focus, more than somebody going into its first bungee jump. You see what I mean? That the participate, and that's the point. The book, if you get this in a book, Piero, that the participation, the more very important and crucial for healthcare is going to be the participation of the patient doing breathing exercises and focus. And we are analyzing this completely with Radboud University right now. It's going to be published in the best of magazines, medical magazines of the world, and it will change the way patients are treated. They will treat themselves as well, and the nurses and the doctors, they will have to change their mind about how to involve the participation of the patient instead of just how do you say passively
Yes.
giving medicines and pills and all that. They have to learn to involve the participation of the patient, which will make a big difference. So, that's it.
Very, very important point, because you see, a lot of people look at, first of all, chemical medicine, which
Yes.
for sure can help in some cases, and they also look at doctors like priests, like you would look at priests to a god, and say,
Exactly.
please treat me. And
Yes.
in my books, I try to tell people to be self-sufficient in every parts of their own life.
Amen. You got it.
Of course, because that's
You
how you
already
survive anything.
intuitively got it.
Exactly, and medicine was always something that was because obviously in my first book I tell people, okay, if you need to be healthy, of course, have a good balanced life, blah blah blah, and so on. But you need to get some medicine in case there is a problem to store. And okay, it can help a little bit, but this is not enough for self sufficiency. So what you say is very interesting. So what also, and maybe we can come back to managing fear and managing emotion and managing your breathing. What struck me as the starting point that was original in your approach was why the cold?
I read many books. I write many books as well. Books are being written. I didn't. I wrote 2 books myself, but many books are being and articles and all that. I read also a whole lot of books, esoteric disciplines I practiced. I got into cultures, into traditions, into religions, into languages, cultures, and all kinds of things. But the real connection, the real feeling, which was like nagging inside, there is more. There is more, but I don't know what it is, and I can't read it in the books. I can't get a hold of it. Where is it? What is it? This is a time in a time span of many years. I've been looking for these answers, for this answer, and the cold was, the cold is so direct. That then this mind stops. It is you just being there to deal with that, making accessible your own inner physiology into the depth. There, there is no speculation over there. There is no mind over there. It just stops. And from there, you are able to tap in to the inner physiology in the depth, and that is besides of our thinking part of the brain. It goes in the deeper part of the brain, and that deeper part of the brain is just being, pure being, and that pure being made me motivated to go all the way with the cold, and enabling me to go deeper in the physiology than any book has written. That's why they're cold.
But that's interesting. So what you're saying is that the cold is is a vessel or a vector. I don't know in English the word.
Yes. It's a medium.
The medium.
Is a vessel to get there.
To get to this
is a
state of
power
mind.
which enables you to get in the deepest part of the brain. And cold is stress.
Yes.
Cold is dealing with pain.
Oh, yes.
And you learn, therefore, how to deal with the pain. Me and pain, I got a very high tolerance to pain. Because, you learn how to tap into the physiology, dealing with the nervous system, practiced by dealing with the cold, which is a force impact on the body. And it ignites, it stimulates, it ignites, it fires up the nervous system, the pain signals. And you learn how to deal with that. And are we able to do that? Yes, we are able to do that. So now we have turned it into a method, techniques, very accessible in very short period of time, with the right insight and motivation of the patient. Then we are able to tolerate or to deal with the pain, to deal with the nervous system, and control it a whole lot better. And we just completed this study on pain in the hospital, in the university, and it showed that after doing these breathing exercises, all the test subjects were able to tolerate so much more pain. And they did it with sensors, electrical sensors. And yes, that's what they saw. Very spectacular results. So we are into this study. We're going to do a new study in March and April. And I'm not even, my presence is not needed anymore. So that's good.
Exactly.
Because,
I like that. This is the approach.
I like that too. Because now it's autonomic. It's out of my hands. It works. And they just want to investigate the effectivity even more by scientific scrutiny, by scientific research, going beyond speculation. And then we got, and we know it, you know it intuitively, what this is all about, lifestyle and this and that. But if we don't have the scientific proof,
yes,
the scientific cold results, numbers, statistics, blood results, and all that, then we have nothing to stand on. Now we got. So you are writing this book, and the coming year, all the new studies, yeah, I will inform you
Oh yes, with
about
pleasure.
it. Okay, then once again, lining up. This is only the first conversation we have. We should work together.
Yeah, with
And
pleasure.
yes, sir. And I got a friend of mine is a biochemist, a
Uh-huh.
professor, and he understands this as well. But then, completely from the biochemical point of view and using my blood results. I met him after he was lecturing all over the country with how to steer the DNA.
Yes.
And then below there was a subtitle, The Iceman. And he used our blood results to show that we are in the middle of the DNA. So we are possibly able to tap into the DNA consciously. And
Yes.
that's because of rigid numbers, statistics, and blood results using. So then we get something to stand on for. You have to, to construct a possible insight for the reader, which then changes his psychology toward his own power, possible power to be developed within by breathing, focus, and a little bit of cold. Then the last thing is once you know how to deal because of the cold with the nervous system, then you know how to deal with the impact of the heat as well, of the deprivation
Yes.
of oxygen, like being on Mount Everest and having no oxygen almost. And you know how to deal with that because it's all the nervous system which is in interaction with the impact. And also grief and also stress of daily stress and or financial stress. Any stress is a impact on the nervous system. And if we are able to popularly write it and to make it understandable for the reader and going into a practical sense, then you got it, man. Then you got it, Piero. Then we got it.
I
That's
agree.
my message to you. I hear you are an intelligent person, analyzing and looking for practical sense, and you are like a translator. You bring it palpable, in the right way for people to understand, to make it into not just reading a book, but to make it a practical sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great. It's great work.
We try to make books that are. I try to make books that are simple to read for anyone.
Yes.
If my
Oh,
grandmother or my mother can read them and understand,
yes.
this is the objective I'm trying to achieve. What you said about heat is interesting because I have some readers, of course, and I think you've traveled in Africa. Like I traveled in Africa a lot, and sometimes maybe people could say, well, we don't have this opportunity to train with cold in most of those places. But indeed, most of our human, of course, people in the north are through evolution and epigenetics have been more adapted to cold weather than people from the equator who are more adapted to warm weather. However, you touch something that touches the mind and how the mind influences our cell membranes through the
Yes.
epigenetic functions, which is quite a
DNA.
new
Yes.
science, right?
Yes.
And
Another thing.
yep,
I'm sorry, I'm
no, no, please,
interrupting. I know,
no, no, it's
but
okay.
I also run without training a full marathon in the heat
Uh-huh.
of the desert
Wow.
without drinking, and it was scientifically measured,
Uh-huh.
and they saw me having a complete control over the core temperature, like it stayed 37 degrees, whilst I was losing 5.2 liters of water in the marathon. I went directly to the Namib desert,
Oh, okay. Yes.
and
Yes.
I ran a full marathon over there with a physiologist accompanying, doing research on me. So I was fully with electrodes and temperature pills and all that. And he saw I maintained 37 degrees. That means control.
Wow.
Control from the nervous system to the vascular system, which is interconnected. And where did I learn this? I learned it in the cold. In the cold, which is temperature impact,
Very
and
interesting.
a temperature impact is like stress. And I learned to deal that in the cold. And directly, I went to the desert without prior being in Africa too much.
Hmm.
And I did the marathon and maintained core temperature 37 degrees. So uh, it's all about that. Not only the cold, also the heat, but grief is also impact on our nervous system. And it's learning how to deal from a controlled nervous system toward any impact. And the translation therein, that should be done, with facts. It should
Yes.
be done with psychological studies. I'm into psychological studies as well, toward depression, for example. And I'm very effective with the method with people who are, suffering from 20 years or 25 years from depression, taking pills, 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 suppressing, but
Hmm.
not going into the cause of it all. And within a week, they are not depressed anymore. You see what I mean?
Yes.
It's bringing back and making it simple as any. It's about simplifying and translating the the huge mystery of impact on our body and our possible control over impact, force impact on the body. And in grief, it's a different angle. Heat is a different angle than cold. Oxygen deprivation is a different angle,
Hmm.
but it's all going to the nervous system. And the nervous system is controlling the vascular system. And if you are able to control these systems, then you are very much more able to deal with the stress, with the impact, with whatever is going on. And yeah, that's very interesting. How to simplify. It's like
Something
mathematics.
something that stress induces in people, especially when it's conscious, it's fear. And
Yes.
in a lot of my readers and people who are, preparing of difficult economic times, or thinking about, maybe, some of my readers are going to war in the Middle East, or because they're part of the army or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to deal with fear, and as most of us, when we are under stress uh, of course, life-threatening situations are not common, but indeed cold, or perhaps stress from work or financial situation or others. Fear is
Yes.
something that can destroy us.
Well, listen to fear.
Uh-huh.
Fear is your perception
Yes.
of what is going to happen. In the cold, it's very imminent because we alienate it from our body so much that if we are to deal because of our comfort zone behavior, we think we can control nature, but we do not control the nature inside, which needs stimulation with interaction with the nature around us. We have gone from that. We are right now living like humans with culture and
Hmm.
high heels and a lot of clothes and fashion and all that. But we have been destimulating our interaction with the nature and therefore weakened the nervous system, our possible control, which is done automatically when you go into the nature naked, like. And we are humans, okay, we develop a culture and all that, but we miss out on our physiological systems inside. And because of that, we lost this control. And then when we are, when we need to go to the war or enter into situations in which we have no control, like the death of somebody, a beloved, or pain, or disease, or cold, or heat, or financial, whatever is out of your power, you are overpowered because you have no control how to deal with that. And then fear comes in because you know with your brain, hey, there is a war going on, and and subconsciously you are not able to be alert. You are not able to deal with this situation. Thus, fear comes in. And what I teach is that we are able to tap into the depth of the part where fear originates, which is the amygdala in the brainstem, in the limbic system, and it's the deeper part of the brain. Exercise by cold and breathing, bringing about more blood flow over there and the right pH levels. Thus, you become more alert. You know how to act upon the situation a whole lot better. In pain, cold, heat, war, you need to have the body there under your control. Thus, fear will go away. And because there is no necessity for fear, fear wants to make you alert, but it is irrational.
Yes.
And people do not know how to deal with that. Now, these techniques, the method, is able to tap in to the part where the signal of fear is coming in because there is a danger, possible danger for the situation, and it makes us, idiotically berserk in our brain. We are overwhelmed with the fear and all the thoughts created, therefore, and then it consumes all the energy all the time. Now, what I say, there is a way to stop that, and that not suppress it or to deal, but to go to the cause. The cause is that your body is not ready to cope with the situation. And are we able to tap in and to make the body the right way to deal with the situation? I say yes. And not only saying yes, we show that we are in the deepest part of the brain. We show that we are able to tackle disease, a bacteria, suddenly because we have more control in the brain and in the body. So then fear has no necessity anymore. It's you have dealt with the cause, and so fear goes away. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a simple matter.
and it's important because all of us, well, all humans tend to be overwhelmed in some situations by fear, and so it's one of the, I found, fundamental focus element that people, because otherwise it makes you paralyzed to do everything else.
Yes, and Piero, I think you hit the bottom, and you're doing well, and really well, and it needs to be demystified. This subject of fear. Fear is a signal actually showing, hey man, we have no control, and we have a possible control over certain situations and all that, but when it is too much, then we have no control anymore, and thus fear comes in. But we can take away the cause for the fear related to grief, pain, cold, heat, war,
Yes.
or any possible situation which is out of your hands, out of your power, where you have no power. We are able to simplify this scientifically, and then go onward to with some techniques, method, and showing that we are able to tap into the deepest parts of the physiology, thus having more control. And then fear becomes something different.